Welcome back.
Welcome back to Inspiration Education. This is episode 19. And today's title is It's Not a Field Trip.
Not a field trip.
What is it?
One of the things that I've been reading a lot more into is deeper learning. Go on to just type in deeper learning on the internet. But one of the things in deeper learning, there's a couple of hallmarks, but one of them is that experiences are authentic and they have purpose. And so when I hear the word field trip, I hear, oh, we're just going to go look at something, enjoy it, have fun, and come back, and you do nothing with it.
Right.
My point is that it is some sort of experience where you are collecting authentic data and you're doing something, or you're collecting data authentically, and then you come back and you do something authentic with that data.
Right.
So it was a wonderful conversation in talking about this episode for us to really realize, well, what do we feel about field trips?
Yes.
And so we've come up with this, I think, a wonderful way to kind of debrief Cassie's experience on this trip that she took with some of her students.
Right. I took my students where we were collecting authentic data down to actually our southern border station here in Nogales, Arizona. So we, our school is in Tucson, Arizona, which is only about an hour and a half from the actual border wall with Mexico, or one of the portions of it. And so quick backstory is that my the first semester of the government class that I lead, which is with seniors.
This is cool.
It's about American government, but I have an emphasis in foreign policy. And so I asked my students to apply what their knowledge of the foundations and the structure and the functions of American government into what America's foreign policy looks like. So each student is writing their own paper, and then they will be actually handwriting a letter to our congressperson who would head up their particular cause or conflict or concern.
And you've been building up to that all semester long, collecting data in a number of different ways, primary sources and so on.
Right.
And then ultimately on the last day of class, they're going to write this letter.
On the last day of class, we'll actually handwrite this letter. So a number of students are writing their paper on the southern border wall and or immigration policies and that sort of thing, which of course it's a hot topic in our country today. And I thought—
a very local topic. I mean, this is a big deal for us in southern Arizona.
Right. This is right here in our backyard. And so I thought, what better way to be able to culminate some of their conversations and their research about the border and immigration policies than by going to the actual border station and speaking with the primary source themselves. So we went down to the Nogales border station and we spoke with a Border Patrol agent there, and he gave us a tour of the station and gave us some of his own experiences of what it's like to be a Border Patrol agent. The students had their opportunity to ask questions about some of the things that are going on in their mind. What are their perceptions based on what the media has been telling them? And then after that, we actually drove just another 2 miles and actually went to the wall itself, and they got to touch it. And it was really interesting to get their reactions on that. So go ahead and watch this, and then we'll be back and we'll sort of debrief you on what you saw.
Look for the data. I mean, what were the pieces of data that the kids were collecting, if you will? You're not going to see them writing or anything like that, but think of the data that they are collecting and assimilating as they go through.
Okay, and we'll be right back.
Alright guys, this is a little piece of history here of the station. There's Mr. Tony Betts back in 1997. They jumped out, bad guys started shooting. They get to a firefight, they return fire. And Mr. Tony Betts said, I'm hit. So they check him like, there's no blood, there's nothing, I mean, you're okay. Well, they get back to the station, they bring the narcotics, when the dope, they want them got away, but they got the rest. And when he finally gets done for the day, he takes off his belt. That's when he sees that 38 bullets stuck in there.
Praise God for the belt.
Jeez. Having the ability to see through it helps out a lot, because if you have a threat on the other side, somebody's shooting at you, you don't want to shoot through the fence and not know what you got. Right? You have a right to defend yourself, but you gotta be able to see what's on the other side. This was back when Mr. Obama was president. There's an example of one of the tunnels we see. There's what bundles look like. Bundles of marijuana. And for those people that like to smoke marijuana nowadays, they grow it, in the stores, whatever. But back in the day, their dope might have come through some sewer. You guys know football, right? What happens if you put everybody at the goal line? And they, or at the, it's unreasonable. You have to layer it, right? And that layering comes with technology, comes with agents, and we also have air assets as well. So if they get past us at the line, well, we got another chance.
When you were to arrest somebody or you catch them crossing, do you detain them and lock them up here, or do you send them back to Mexico?
So, good question. There's always a procedure, right? So every time you see the Belgian Malinois, like the 4 missile that took down Mr. Big Daddy over there, you know what I'm talking about? So they are very high drive dogs. And that's what we use. They're not pets, they don't hang out with the family. Whatever your mission is for that day, you come in and it's like ordering McDonald's. Those, you get your stuff. It's bulkier, heavier, and if you're gonna be hiking the desert, so it's not worth it.
Oh, there it is.
That alone.
And here's why. Exactly. Well, pass it around, don't drop it, it's ceramic plates.
Is it a one-time use deal?
Once you get hit, it will shatter. It might take a few hits before it completely disintegrates. But if even it takes one, you'll go somewhere else. You get a new armor.
It's just amazing.
Is where you can just wrap it with, just like at the waist.
No, it goes over. So now you know why we don't carry these things all the time.
No.
Like only mission specific. With this, it gives us, when it's just you and your partner, just you, in fact, it's 30 minutes out, and people are shooting at you with an AK-47, you don't want to be caught with this thing, right?
Is the 2-round burst?
This is single and full. In the right hands, it's an amazing tool. In bad hands, it can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Either way. Steel interior looks familiar. Yes, that is part of the border fence.
Oh.
Leftovers. Every one of these horses are Mustangs, except for one. We have a mare here that she was seized in a narcotic smuggling load. It's our only mare that we have here. Every one of these horses is a working horse. They are taken from the wild when there's too many horses, and the Bureau of Land Management used to reduce the amount of horses. They take them from the wild, they take them to a prison in Colorado where they break them, domesticate the horses, and then they ship them over to us. When they retire, the agent that assigned the horse, because horses are assigned to people, they want to create that bond with the rider. Each agent is assigned for typically 3 years as a horse patrol agent.
I had a question about the holding centers. How long are people usually kept in there?
So here's the thing. This Nogales is a 12-hour facility, actually 24-hour facility. We try to make it 12, but when we do it, when they come in from the field, we take their fingerprints, their name, put them in the system, and then we send them out to Tucson for processing, right? We're not a long-term facility whatsoever.
How is your guys' relationship with the Mexican police, and how does that relationship work?
So, unlike what most people think, it's actually pretty good. Cool. Right? We have a great working relationship with the police on the south side. They have helped us out on numerous occasions.
So, when it comes to going across to the Mexican border, if you have to chase after somebody,
You don't.
you don't. Okay, because I was just wondering if it comes to
So all our authority, we're U.S. Border Patrol. Right. We have no authority in Mexico.
Okay. So
Right.
you can't step over at all.
No.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's been some cases, and they are the exception to the rule, in which human life depended on it. Right. Okay, human life precedes it, and there'll be consequences, but you saved a life.
Yeah, it's all happening.
Do you do a good job?
Yo, buddy. I'm studying. Third and fifth.
How many people do you, on average, detain a day
Station
here?
here, it fluctuates. I remember we were catching 100 per shift, and then we went to now 20, 30 per day, depending.
So it's dropped over
Yes.
time?
Yeah.
Why?
Infrastructure above anything else.
Oh, okay. More of the wall being built, and that's reducing.
The thing is, it's a combination: technology, infrastructure, and personnel.
I just think it's so funny
I told why I
how like most of the wall was built during the Obama era.
Yeah.
And like
That's not what
And
we're
every-
told on the news.
yeah, but then like every little is like
The Border Patrol has a good relationship with the Mexican police.
Well, I learned today that the Border Patrol is actually quite amazing, and they do multiple things that I had no idea. Like, for example, helping with like car accidents if they're nearby. They have a lot of equipment that is not usually available to typical police. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And kind of like Henry said, they have a good relation with the Mexican police, which I did not know.
I learned that it's really interesting that the Border Patrol still uses horses. I thought that was really cool because
I like the horses.
yeah, they're fun and they can get places where even ATVs can't. What'd you learn?
I learned how much technology the Border Patrol uses to identify illegal immigrants and what extent they are able to use that technology.
I learned that there's a lot more Border Patrol agents than I thought, and that the Border Patrol isn't just Border Patrol, it's, what is it? National
Guard too.
National Guard, and like other people who are all involved. And that it takes a lot more people than I thought to control everything and get everything done properly.
The Border Patrol is so disrespected. Like, these people seem pretty amazing to me. It's like giving here about that.
Yeah.
Like, if they came here and got this tour, I guarantee they would learn so much more and like open a different eye to it.
If who came?
Like the news.
Oh,
like,
the news. Yeah.
People who say like the Border Patrol people are bad. Like, it's not true.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed your time here with us. Hope you have a better understanding of the border and the community itself. And my number one message is to understand that even though we're border patrollers, we are part of the community. We live here. We care about this place as much as anybody else. And hopefully you guys left with knowing something they didn't know before.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
David, what did you learn?
I learned a lot about the side where they really care about the community and they try to keep it safe like their own home, which is really cool.
What'd you learn?
That they have a bunch of units, not just like people working. They have like horses and ATVs and stuff like that.
Asylum seekers, like a lot of people think they just go straight through Nogales or something, but they actually go around, and that the numbers haven't spiked in recent years, but that it's actually been like the same for a really long time.
Are we allowed to stick our hands at the door?
You can touch it. Just.
Oh my God, there's people. It's a wall. It's not.
It's just a wall.
There's flowers over there on the wall and a jacket.
Yeah, this agent's like,
Okay, there it is. Thoughts? You got your finger in Mexico?
This is
As I remember it being
so much better than all the stuff that you hear, like a thick wall like
I
that.
got two.
This makes so much more
Look
sense.
at that wire up there. Oh, that, yeah, I mean, I get two.
This is a big, like, it's so much bigger than I imagined
Yeah,
it
this
would
is
be.
a lot taller than I
And it really is like,
Really?
it paints an image of how fake the news is.
Yeah.
Like how
This
stupid
was
they
built
are.
under Obama?
That's what he said. That's what he said.
I like field trips is because it gives me more hands-on learning, and they're just fun in general. Why do you like field trips?
I like field trips because we actually get to see what we're learning about. We get to apply it to real life and
They're informative, and it allows us to go out and actually learn things in the field rather than just learning in the classroom.
I like field trips because we get to spend time outside of school and learn on the field.
I like field trips because you get to learn away from the classroom.
Well, welcome back.
Hi, hope you like that. So let's talk about the data collection. That was your challenge at the beginning of this. So one of the ways in which the students are collecting data is by asking questions. questions that, quite frankly, I would not be able to answer.
Oh, right.
Right? I mean, because
you're not the primary source.
No, I'm not the primary source. The Border Patrol agent is. And he talked about, like, yes, I'm a Border Patrol agent, but I'm also a member of this community here in Nogales,
That was
Arizona.
powerful.
Yeah, I'm about, my job is about saving lives.
The kids needed to hear that. They needed to know that and experience that emotionally for themselves, because that I could watch their body language and there was an emotional response that they were having on a number of different levels.
So that's one of the ways in which the students were collecting data. But another way is with a hands-on experience, right? I mean, you saw at the end there where we actually went to the wall and
Had you planned on doing that?
No, we hadn't. We wound up with extra time and I said, would you guys like to actually go and see the wall? And they're like, yes, please. And so we just took a right turn rather than a left turn, and we went down and we saw the wall. And for them to be able to actually see in front of them this wall and to be able to touch it and poke their finger through into Mexico for them, you know, was a huge source of data collection for them.
So again, deeper learning would involve that you do something with this data. So what is something that you're doing that has complexity that is allowing them to exhibit some sort of craftsmanship about their learning?
Have your students apply what they've now gained into some sort of new creative way. I mean, that's like a level 3, a level 4 in the depth of knowledge wheel, or if you want to use Bloom's taxonomy or whatever it is that you want to use. In my case, I asked the students to then create a public service announcement about the southern border wall. And so the students have been working on that for the last week. And at the end of this clip, I'm going to show you a time lapse of one of the public service announcements that one of the student groups are making, in which there's this dichotomy between what the media portrays about the children at the border wall, those that are being detained, and then what the other side perhaps of the media is saying. And the students are at the bottom. The question is, we want to know the truth. What is the truth?
Wow.
And I find
That's
that
powerful.
It's very powerful, and I find that fascinating because they are starting to gain a little bit of that truth by going and learning from a primary source themselves.
Who's the authentic audience for it?
Right. So their audience is their peers. They present it in class, but it's bigger than that. I've told them that I'd like to potentially put it on the vlog, which of course you're going to see one of them here in just a minute. But other students are creating like 30-second videos. So I'd like to maybe put those on a later vlog if we get the chance. But I also have a website, a historical website that I use for teachers and for students. And so I'm going to be putting it on there as well. So it's going to be for a public consumption. So
most excellent.
Maybe you are an elementary school teacher and you want to take your students to the zoo.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
How can an elementary school teacher use this example by taking their students to the zoo?
So certainly there would be a training of culture within your classroom leading far up to this. You can't just drop the kids into them in some sort of field experience and expect them to know what you want them to do. But where I would go with this, like if you went to the zoo, some students sit, and again, it's going to be age dependent a little bit, but let's say you have an age group where they spend part of the time watercoloring something they see. They spend another part of the time maybe interviewing each other with a a camera much like this one. Perhaps you ask them to sit and to write some sort of poetry. Perhaps you've taught your kids how to write poetry, or they interview each other about what they're thinking or feeling. And then when they come back, of course you debrief it or whatever, but what would it look like to put together a gallery of all these things that you have created? It's art, it's poetry, it's the kids enjoying each other's company and having relationship and all of that. And again, you guys right now are probably thinking way more ideas than I am. And it could even be, observing the behavior of the animals and describing
journaling that.
journaling, whatever, and they come back to class and they make models of what they saw or whatever. I mean, it's limitless. And then you have a gallery walk of some sort. Or how about you take the poetry and the art and you make a calendar out of it and you sell it.
Oh, fun.
Right. Or you make postcards out of it and everybody now has okay, deeper learning. I've modelsofexcellence.org. Just go there. I got half of these ideas from things that I've gotten online. Wow. How cool that be to take an experience like that and have your kids do something where people in the broader community are seeing it. And it's not just for an audience of one.
Right.
The teacher.
Yeah. The audience of one being the teacher. Ooh, try to get out of that. Because who cares? At that point, the kids don't care. They don't care.
And they are oftentimes making something just to please us. And that hurts. When it hurts my heart.
But think about the anxiety level coming up just a little bit with your students when they're realizing that it's not just for you anymore.
The good kind.
It's about way more people. Right. That's a good kind of anxiety. So anyway.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. So it's not just a field trip. It's about collecting authentic data and then using that data in an authentic way.
Awesome.
Okay.
I love it.
Good luck. I hope you are able to try this out in some way. And if you do, let us know.